My biological parents divorced when I was an infant, so I don't have many memories of my dad. My mom was left to raise me on her own, but she didn't stay single for long. When I was around 3, she married this guy, Dave. He was tall, well-built, and in the beginning, he seemed like the perfect guy, charming, always smiling, the type of guy who you'd think was perfect for your mom. I was just a kid, so I didn't question it. He started living with us, and things began to change, but slowly, so slowly, that I barely noticed. At first, he was like any typical stepdad. He'd try to connect with me, ask me how my day went, and make me laugh with his silly jokes. But something didn't feel right. Dave didn't just want to bond like a father figure would. There was something off in the way he looked at me, the way his compliments lingered a bit too long. "You're growing up to be a fine young lady," he'd say, his voice a little too soft. At the time, I thought I was just being paranoid, but looking back, I realized I should have trusted my gut. As I got older, the discomfort grew. Dave started paying more attention to me, but not in the way a father should. By the time I was 10, I could tell that his behavior was starting to cross boundaries. He'd make strange comments about how I looked, always saying things like, "You're really filling out, huh?" Or, "You look just like your mom when she was your age." I didn't understand what it meant at the time, but I could feel something wasn't right. He'd linger too long in doorways when I changed clothes or would accidentally walk in on me in the bathroom. I was starting to get more self-aware of my body, but Dave seemed to be watching me in a way that made my skin crawl. Even more disturbing were the touches that didn't seem like the kind of father would give to his daughter. When he'd hug me, his hands would sometimes linger too long on my back, or I'd feel his breath on my neck. As I grew into my teens, his affection became even more confusing and suffocating. I wasn't a child anymore, and I started to realize that I wasn't supposed to be this uncomfortable with him. The real turning point came when I was 16. One night, my mom was out with friends, and I was home alone with Dave. I was watching TV in the living room, just minding my business. He came in, sat down next to me, and started chatting. The conversation quickly turned weird. He began complimenting me on my looks, but it wasn't the innocent, "you look nice" type of compliments. It was more like, "You're becoming a real woman, huh? And you sure do look grown up tonight." The way he said it, the look in his eyes, I couldn't breathe. I started to panic. I didn't know what to do, so I just stood up and excused myself, heading to my room. I locked the door and tried to forget what had just happened. I felt sick, violated even, but I didn't know how to put it into words. I thought maybe I was being overly sensitive, but I knew deep down that something wasn't right. The uncomfortable moments didn't stop. They only got worse. Dave began following me around the house more, sitting too close to me on the couch and standing too close in the kitchen. One day, I was in the living room reading a book when he came in and sat beside me. I could feel his leg brushing against mine, and it made me want to scream. His breath was so close to my ear as he whispered, "I've been thinking about you a lot, you know." My heart dropped. I didn't know what to say. I just froze, hoping he would leave me alone. I tried to tell my mom, but she didn't believe me. She thought I was just trying to start drama. She'd say, "He's just trying to show you that he cares. Maybe you're overthinking it." But I wasn't overthinking it. I wasn't imagining it. I could feel the way he was making me uncomfortable, and it was becoming harder to ignore. At 18, I decided I couldn't live under that roof anymore. I was old enough to leave, and I did. The first few months away from home were amazing. I felt free, like I could finally breathe again. But the guilt started to set in. My mom, who was still married to Dave, started texting and calling me nonstop, begging me to come back. She said she missed me and that I shouldn't let one weird incident ruin our family. But I couldn't come back. I couldn't stand the thought of being under the same roof as Dave, knowing what had happened, what he had put me through. I finally told her everything, hoping she would understand, hoping she would believe me. She cried, apologized, and said she never saw it. But in that moment, I realized that it didn't matter. She chose to turn a blind eye to his behavior for years, and now it was too late. I couldn't forgive her for allowing him to manipulate me, for gaslighting me into thinking I was the problem. I haven't spoken to Dave in years, and honestly, I have no interest in having a relationship with him ever again. My mom and I still have a strained relationship. I've tried to rebuild some sort of connection with her, but it's hard when I know she chose him over me. But I've moved on. I've healed. It took years, but I'm stronger now. I want anyone out there reading this to know, trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Don't let anyone convince you that you're overreacting. Speak up. Don't wait as long as I did. Thanks for listening, Reddit. I just needed to share this part of my life, and hopefully, it helped someone who's been in a similar situation.